True crime is one of the most popular niches in the world, with many people seemingly never getting enough of it. One of these crazy and obsessed fans would be South Korean native 23-year-old Jeong Yoo-Jeong, who was so obsessed with true crime that she started to picture and fantasize her own true crime and committing her own perfect murder. And unfortunately, this deadly obsession would lead her to stabbing and killing a stranger, stabbing her over 110 times. Now, it's hard to imagine that this would all happen from a popular niche, but what causes this 4'9" young South Korean girl to commit such a brutal act and become so evil? Is it possible that too much true crime can really be a problem? Or was this just an evil, twisted girl who let her deepest, darkest demons out? Well, let's find out. This is the true and twisted case of Jeong Yoo-Jeong. What's going on, guys? Welcome to Wicked and Wild, where we cover all types of true crime, whether solved or unsolved, terrifying and tragic, or just plain wicked and wild. I'm your host, Tyler, here to give you exactly what you came for. And with that being said, let's get right into it. On May 27, 2023, at around 3 in the morning, a taxi driver in Busan, South Korea, had just dropped off a previous rider when he was waved down by a young woman with a suitcase. After pulling over, the woman asked the driver if he could bring her to a spot near the Nakdong River, which he agreed. And after putting her suitcase into the trunk, they were off. After a short and normal ride, they arrived and the taxi pulled over to the heavily wooded roadside. After getting out of the car, they both made their way to the trunk to retrieve the woman's suitcase. That's the moment where the taxi driver's heart sank. There was a red, wet, and almost thick substance that had seeped through the suitcase and into his trunk. Somehow, the woman didn't even notice the liquid, nor the complete shock on the driver's face, most likely from it being dark, being 3 in the morning. The driver, completely unsure what to think, played it off and watched the woman walk into the wooded area, raising his suspicions even further. I don't know about you guys, but to take a suitcase that's dripping with red liquid, putting it in a taxi, getting the ride to the area, and you taking that suitcase and wandering off into the woods, that's kind of a dead giveaway. Waiting a few moments to make sure she was gone, he made his way back to the trunk just to look again, and that's when he confirmed that it was indeed blood and called the police for help. Police responded to this very seriously, and just minutes after responding to the scene, found multiple body parts in the woods, right where the woman was walking. Thanks to the driver calling police immediately, along with giving detailed information about the woman and the suitcase, she was arrested just a short 3 hours later and identified as 23-year-old Jeong Yoo-Jeong. But before I take you guys any further, I kind of need to rewind and tell you a little bit about Jeong, her life, and how she got to this point. Jeong Yoo-Jeong was born in 1999 and raised by her grandparents in Busan, Bukgu, South Korea. Growing up, Jeong was always known to be shy and actually favored being alone, never making any attempt at making friends, and even when spoken to, would just stare blankly back with no response. This behavior carried on as she grew older and was thought of as an outsider and even strange by people who knew her. After graduating high school, Jeong had her sights set on taking the civil service exam, an exam that, if passed, allows you to work in South Korea's civil service industry. Being a pretty big exam, Jeong took 5 years off after high school and stayed unemployed to focus on studying for this exam, especially since one of their requirements is to speak fluent English. The only problem is, now at 23, and it being 5 years later, Jeong's English hadn't improved since high school at all. Instead of studying and practicing her English, Jeong started to become obsessed with anything true crime. Jeong was still a loner, with no friends at all and never went outside. And so true crime kind of became her everything. And too much of any one thing, whatever that may be, usually turns out for the worst. Her obsession quickly went from having some true crime books to only watching true crime on TV, and of course, eventually becoming completely obsessed with serial killers. Jeong's obsession with true crime became incredibly overwhelming, and ultimately, she began to start fantasizing about her own true crime story and what it would be like to take someone's life. That was the golden question that would drive her obsession way past the point of no return. These questions about how it would feel to take someone's life. Now, that golden question wasn't the only question that she had. So, Jeong took the rest of her questions, just like everyone else, to Google, searching things like how to murder someone and the perfect murder. And with all the true crime knowledge she already had, started to believe that she could really pull off the true perfect murder and finally know what it would be like to take someone's life. After fantasizing for some time and having these questions of hers haunt her, she finally gave in to her deepest, darkest thoughts and desires. Jeong decided it was time to take action. After doing some research in the months prior, along with her being an outsider and having close to no human interaction on a daily basis, Jeong decided that picking a stranger as her victim would be the perfect move. Jeong downloaded and signed up for a tutoring app, posing as a parent searching for an English tutor for her child. After Jeong messaged some 50 women, was then paired with a 26-year-old tutor on May 24th, 2023. And after chatting through the app, decided to meet up a couple days later on May 26th, where Jeong would send her so-called child to the tutor's house. Once the tutor agreed to this, Jeong put her plan into motion and bought a school uniform, planning to disguise herself as the child in need of tutoring. When May 26th arrived, Jeong put on the school uniform, grabbed a knife from her home, and made her way over to the tutor's home. Jeong herself, having a baby face, along with being 4 foot 9 inches, could easily pass as a young schoolgirl, making it truly a perfect disguise for a truly evil intention. When Jeong arrived at the house, the tutor welcomed her inside, and quickly after realizing that the tutor lived alone, let her demons run wild. Jeong immediately took out the knife and brutally murdered this poor unsuspecting woman, stabbing her more than 110 times. After it was done and making sure the tutor was indeed dead for good, Jeong took the woman's license, purse, and phone, planning to hide the woman's identity as part of her so-called master plan. Jeong then waited until right after midnight to leave the woman's home, where she would make her way back to her own house, grab her suitcase, and make her way to a supermarket, where she can be seen on camera walking in a very skippy, almost joyful manner. After shopping for cleanup materials like knives, bags, bleach, zip ties, and other items, made her way back to the tutor's house. Jeong then spent hours dismembering the woman's body, and now it being around 3 a.m., and after shoving some of the parts into her suitcase, made her way outside where she would call for a taxi to take her to a roadside near the Nakdong River and dispose of the body parts. After disposing of the body parts, but realizing there was still yet more body parts to collect and dump, Jeong took the suitcase back with her, planning to do another dump later that day. But, as we know, the taxi driver told, and she was arrested. When Jeong was arrested, she originally claimed that someone else had killed the woman and she was forced to just hide the body. But after being caught with the victim's belongings, her DNA at the crime scene, and her family pleading with her to come clean, Jeong then admitted it was indeed her and started to tell of her dark desires of killing someone. And, of course, the perfect murder. Because she had no social skills, Jeong picked a stranger, but some believe this stranger wasn't picked for no reason. A forensic psychology professor at Kyung University has been closely analyzing this crime and the criminal, telling the media that Jeong probably killed the woman because she was envious of her lifestyle and everything she had. The victim went to a prestigious university and had a good social standing, whereas Jeong, on the other hand, lived a very isolated life for 5 years after finishing high school and has never been employed. South Korea was taken by storm over the story of Jeong, especially after releasing the reason behind the killing being just plain curiosity. This truly confused a lot of South Koreans, and many around the world for that matter. The thought of a young girl killing someone just because of pure curiosity stunned almost everyone in South Korea, not to mention the rest of the world. Many tests were done on Jeong to evaluate her mental health, including the psychopath diagnostic test, which consists of a total of 20 questions and is scored out of 40 points. A score of 25 or more in Korea and 30 or more in the United States is considered a psychopath, with normal people scoring an average of 15. Jeong would score an incredibly high score of 28, sounding alarms that, yep, we do indeed have a psychopath here. On November 24th, Jeong Yoo-Jeong was sentenced to life in prison after being convicted of murder, desecration, and abandonment of a corpse by a South Korean court, along with having to wear a tracking device for the next 30 years. So because of privacy laws in South Korea, we don't actually know who the victim is, what she looks like. All we know is her age and that it's a woman. But my deepest and sincerest condolences go out to the friends and family of that woman. This is just, completely horrific. I'm really interested to hear what you guys thought about this case, and was her punishment severe enough? I don't even know if they have the death penalty in South Korea, but she took a test. She's a psycho. Maybe it's better off if we don't have psychos around. Just saying. So I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys thought about it, and let me know what you think about this case in particular. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts on it. I read all comments. So yeah, please don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys on the next one. That's it.